Have you ever laughed so hysterically at something so simple you were starting to get legitimately worried that you were losing your sanity or something? Part 3. My family was eating at Red Robin. My grandpa told a great joke. I laughed so hard that I shit my pants. I was like 5. My dad took me to the restroom and asked if they were my lucky underwear. I said no, cut them off with his pocket knife. Cleaned me up and went back out to finish our food. Today someone told me they wished I was dead because I just made them look dumb in a Pokemon battle before they rage quit. It made me laugh way too hard and far too long for some reason. I have an uncontrollable nervous habit of laughing when someone is very mad at me / I'm under pressure or put on the spot. My entire life I've been like that. You could imagine how terrible Marine Corps boot camp was for me. My wife knows it and it drives her nuts. Though she isn't mad at me that often. It's happened at a traffic stop. I walked the stage at my high school graduation laughing. I've been fired from jobs laughing hysterically. And you could imagine it doesn't sit well for a drunk person at a bar trying to fight me for no reason, and I can't stop laughing. I can't help it. I don't know why my brain or body reacts that way. Probably has to do with my older brothers torturing me with pinning me down and tickling me until I screamed so much I coughed up blood that laughing is what happened immediately before the fight response kicked in. Once a couple friends and I realized that after you laugh hard at something, you generally end the fit of laughter with a sigh. We laughed at that. And then at the end we sighed, which sent us into another fit of laughter. This happened for a few cycles until we felt like it would never end and that we would die of laughter. I got moved to a different section, and while out in the field my old chief called me over on the radio. I get over there to find out one of the soldiers in my section could fart the ABCs and jingle bells. It was hilarious. A video on YouTube was in my recommended. It was a seal which sat on the shore and farted. I lost it for 20 minutes. There's a particular meme that always gets me. Top half: if the words you say appeared on your skin, would you still be beautiful? And a pretty girl's hand with words like love and joy on it. Bottom half: a woman's hand with the words geez Louise, I'm bonkers for cheese. I was 19 and had just started experimenting with cannabis. I was eating McDonald's French fries. And I got a soggy fry. If you know, you know. I picked it up. And as I looked at it before putting it into my mouth, it very dejectedly drooped over in what seemed like slow motion. It took me several minutes to explain, as the room had been nearly silent until I was giggling like a maniac, waving a French fry around. My BF and I were watching the episode of What We Do in the Shadows where Colin Robinson keeps baiting people with the up dog joke. My BF, God love him, isn't the brightest, and after the 4th or 5th time Colin said up dog, he looked over at me with the most confused, annoyed tone and genuinely asked, what is up dog? Except mid-sentence he realized the joke and his face went from confused and annoyed to embarrassed. I died. Laughed so hard I don't remember the rest of the episode. I make sure to talk to him about updog every couple of weeks so he doesn't live it down. I'm studying chemistry. And it happened in undergrad lab. I was under a lot of stress. That probably didn't exactly help either. I was doing a synthesis that took me 3 days. And at the end of the reaction I looked into the flask where there was supposed to be a lot of white crystals, I'm talking like 15 to 20 grams. And all I saw was a tiny bit of material at the bottom of the liquid inside of the flask. Maybe the size of a grain of salt. I looked at it for a few seconds. And just lost it. I just laughed uncontrollably for minutes. I think some people were legitimately worried about my mental stability. Including me. When I was a junior in high school, my best friend and I sat next to each other in literature class together. And we were goofing off in the back one day. I had a blank piece of paper on my desk. And in huge letters, so as to take up the whole sheet, I start writing crack is whack. I guess I wasn't paying attention. Because when I looked down at my completed masterpiece, the paper just said, and NBSP. Crack. And NBSP, and NBSP, the whack. And NBSP. I don't know why we found this so funny. But we both laughed so hysterically that it disrupted the class and we had to go wait outside until we calmed down. I was in high school when one of my friends said something stupid and another replied, "What do you have in your head?" Confetti. The mental image of a head suddenly exploding into confetti still cracks me up to this day. I was working in a group home, finishing up some paperwork after an overnight shift and accidentally wrote shampoo instead of shampoo. One of the residents asked me if I needed help. I was laughing so hard. OMG, I was at school with my best friend. We were walking towards the principal's office and we saw his secretary go out of the office towards the payphone on the wall next to the office. She put a coin in the payphone slot, and the payphone suddenly fell to the ground and broke apart on the floor. We both started to laugh until we dropped. I actually peed my pants. I once saw WreckIt Ralph 2 with my family, and we were all sleeping in the same room as we were on vacation. And it was really late and none of our brains were working right. It was a pretty bad movie and we all ironically enjoyed it. eBay is a huge plot point in that movie. At the end, just before I fell asleep, someone said eBay. Buy and use. The E is for internet. And I still laugh thinking about that. I was in class, sitting next to her friend. She was eating something and a piece of it fell. She looked around and noticed it went in her cleavage. We started laughing so hard I couldn't even breathe. I'd take a breath and she'd go on. And I couldn't get it together. I had to leave the room and I was still laughing a good 15 minutes later. I said to my girlfriend that if she didn't laugh in the next 30 seconds I would cook dinner. For the next 15 minutes we were laughing uncontrollably. Genuine tears and hyperventilation. I laughed at my friend's new haircut to the point of screeching LOL. 4 seasons total landscaping. I laughed so hard I cried. An hour later I walked into the room laughing and my husband said, "Are you laughing at the landscaping thing again?" And barely getting the words out I said, "But they actually held it there. It's still funny." Yes. I was reading a book to my son called Pop 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 and I was laughing like a lunatic the whole way through. It was so funny. Actually it wasn't, but at the time I couldn't stop laughing. I really wondered if my brain had finally cracked the whole way through. I was laying in bed and my cat came and sat on my chest. When I breathed in his head bobbed a little, which made me chuckle. When I chuckled his head bobbed harder, which made me laugh. When I laughed his whole body shook, which made me explode in a fit of insane laughter. Cue a half hour of laughing until I cried and my cat wondering why the hell I was interrupting his nap. Yes. A video of a chicken running with shoes. I used to do acid several times a year. And one weekend I was tripping on a heavy dose on a beautiful day with a good friend. I was in maximum comfort mode in the sun outside. Wearing loose cool clothes. Nice sunglasses. Casually smoking a cigarette slumped completely in a cushioned lawn chair. I'm small. So this chair really enveloped me, not a crappy plastic one. This one was part of my parents' really nice wrought iron and super thick and soft cushioned furniture set made for excellent lounging, so under normal circumstances I could have looked like the queen of chill readying myself for a big nap. However, I was tripping fucking balls. I looked at my friend and said, "Honestly man, I'm on the edge of my fucking seat right now," and both of us lost our shit for what felt like an hour. The reality of appearing completely relaxed and consumed by fluffy cushions and expressing that I felt completely shot to space was fucking hysterical to us. There's a couple of little people in my neighborhood. Very sweet people. They have bushes in their front yard about 7 feet tall. And decorated them with Christmas lights. The lights only go halfway up. I drove by one day and absolutely lost it. I know it's kind of mean. But I couldn't help but die of laughter. When my sister and I were kids, my mom had to work a late shift once and we were home alone. We decided to really live it up and make some chocolate chip cookies. We were so rebellious. Anyway. We obviously had the cookies with milk, and after I finished my little cookie pile, I still had a little milk left. So I decided to grab another cookie so I could have the proper milk cookie ratio, you know. 1 bite of cookie, 1 sip of milk, and so on. But before the cookie was finished, the milk was gone. So I obviously had to fill up my glass again. And so the cycle continued until I finally ran out of milk and cookies at the same time. This would be a cute story to tell about my 11-year-old self making excuses to eat more cookies. But what makes it so memorable to me was actually that my sister and I found it so funny that we started laughing uncontrollably and couldn't stop for over an hour. No exaggeration. It was pretty infectious, so when I would finally calm down a little, My sister would start laughing harder and vice versa. And by the end of it, we were both a bit sore from laughing so much. On a movie me and my family was watching, a man was slowly lifting a gun to fire at a woman. They didn't show her getting hit. They only showed a close-up of her high heels staggering back and forth. I lost it laughing. Everybody in the room was glaring at me. My bathroom fan recently started squeaking. When my 5-year-old heard it, she said, "Ugh, Dad, put the fan in crazy sound mode." I still laugh every time I hear it. One night, I had cut a roast on our kitchen table. Some of the grease/juices from the roast overflowed from the cutting board, fell onto the table, and from there spilled onto the floor. I didn't feel like getting it up, so I put it off until the morning. Cue the next morning. I had forgotten about the spill, and went to the fridge, which is right next to the kitchen table. Not seeing anything in the upper shelves of the fridge, I bent down to look at the lower levels. Part of that was adjusting my foot so my stance was wider. Some context. I am a 6'2", 450-pound black man. I am by no definition small, and by many definitions very large. I, that very large man, widened my stance just enough for my foot to land in the grease. The grease immediately felt like my feet were still entirely too close together, and made the decision to let my foot slide the rest of the way over. I am now in a full Chinese split, having not stretched this far since adolescence. My body was not prepared. I tilted myself backwards so I could get out of this painful position. But as I did, I imagined seeing myself fall, and it killed me. I laughed harder at that than anything I can remember. I spent a solid 15 minutes on the floor in the fetal position crying laughing, to the point that my sister was concerned I needed to be admitted to a mental hospital. I eventually calmed down, but even now thinking about that makes me chuckle. Thanks for watching.